Before the international week, Manchester United were struggling to find the back of the net and had just lost back-to-back Premier League games against Brighton and Liverpool. Erik ten Hag's future was on the line and his new recruit Joshua Zirkzee was still not firing, while the wide men were also not at the top of their game. Cut to the present, the Red Devils have won 2 on the trot, scoring 10 goals in total, with all of the wingers looking in red-hot form. However, with Rasmus Højlund still sidelined, United will need their summer signing from Bologna to start scoring. He has shown his ability to link up play, but a forward is known by the goals he scores. Zirkzee still needs time to adapt. The Netherlands international is not your typical center forward, and that is exactly why there were talks of a move for Ivan Toney in the summer. However, a move failed to materialize, but assistant manager Ruud van Nistelrooy seems to have already suggested the perfect striker to sign in January if football transfers are to be believed. Dusan Vlahovic of Juventus has been recommended to Ineos by the former United striker, and scouts are set to monitor his progress thoroughly in the coming months. With Nistelrooy favorite to take over from the former Ajax coach should he receive his relieving orders, his recommendation holds that much more weight. The 24-year-old, extraordinary, striker has started the new season in sizzling fashion, netting twice and registering 1 assist in 5 games, and with only 2 years left to run on his current contract, the Red Devils are plotting to swoop. RVN wants Vlahovic. Ruud van Nistelrooy is eager for Manchester United to sign Juventus forward Dusan Vlahovic in January, Football Transfers has been informed. Following Van Nistelrooy's recommendation, Man Utd are planning to scout Vlahovic over the next few months and gauge his interest in a potential mid-season transfer to Old Trafford. Van Nistelrooy, remains a prime candidate to take over if Man Utd decide to sack Ten Hag at any point over the next few years. As a result, Man Utd are taking Van Nistelrooy's advice seriously and are strongly considering a move for Vlahovic during the January transfer window. Vlahovic is a long-term target. United have been frequently linked with the Serb, ever since he moved to Turin, where he has struggled to shine on a consistent basis. He still scored 18 goals last season, more than any United forward. He is yet to hit the same heights as his Fiorentina days, but is still considered to be one of Europe's top strikers. And working under the former Old Trafford frontman could just be the key that unlocks his enormous potential. A January move will depend a lot on how United fare in the coming months. The deal will not be cheap, with the Serbian international valued at €65 million as per Transfermarkt. Juventus are likely to demand for more, considering they paid €83 million for his services, especially if the 20-time English League champions try and secure a mid-season deal. Manchester United winger Antony has been slammed for thinking he was a real baller in the Eredivisie, even as his struggles in England continue. On Erik ten Hag's strong recommendation, United forked out an enormous £85 million to sign Antony from Ajax in the summer of 2022. Ten Hag knew Antony very well from their time together at Ajax and may have thought the winger would seamlessly slot into his plans at Old Trafford. However, the opposite has largely been the case. So far, Antony has failed to justify his massive price tag, only managing 5 goals and 3 assists in 55 Premier League appearances. His performances, especially last season, left a lot to be desired, and as a result, the player constantly found himself on the end of criticism from fans and the media. The Brazilian lost his place in the team to Alejandro Garnacho, who showed far more attacking threat and efficiency in comparison. This term, Ten Hag has demonstrated a clear preference for Amad Diallo on the right wing, with Antony having to be content with a place on the bench. However, the 24-year-old got a rare start on Tuesday as the Red Devils demolished Barnsley 7-0 in the third round of the EFL Cup. Antony got on the score sheet after a selfless Marcus Rashford gifted him a penalty kick in the first half. However, it seems that Antony's performance did not convince everyone, with Dutch football expert Marcel van der Kraan aiming a dig at the United number 21 while on talkSPORT. According to van der Kraan, Ten Hag will be hoping that Antony still comes good, as it was on his word that the club bought the forward. Van der Kraan said, Erik ten Hag is praying it will still happen because, on his advice, so much money was spent on this player. It's the usual trap that Dutch coaches fall for when they go to England. They've seen players in the Netherlands that have done all right. Antony came from Brazil, joined Ajax in Brazil, He was a big talent. He comes to the Eredivisie, which is not on the same level. He thought he was a real baller in the Eredivisie. Yes, you're against the likes of Utrecht and Go Ahead Eagles. You only played 3 or 4 big games in a season, and yes, he did light the stadium up a few times in the big games, but it's not a consistent period. Then he came to England and thought, oh hang on, I'm facing really tough opponents. Van der Kraan emphasized that Antony must do better against higher quality opposition, as it's not enough to just perform against the likes of Barnsley. In the past, he would scrap a bit as well. He was one of those Brazil street kids who would do that, and he's found out that when he meets some boys from London or Manchester or Liverpool who grew up on the streets there, they're just as tough as him. If Antony's level of playing has gone down to the Carabao Cup against Barnsley, then that is not the sort of line you want to take in your career when you move for so much money. Up next for Antony and his teammates is a tricky Saturday trip to Selhurst Park to face Oliver Glasner's Crystal Palace. Manchester United fans enjoyed themselves at Old Trafford on Tuesday as the club ran riot in their Carabao Cup third-round tie against Barnsley, demolishing the League One side 7-0. 3 different players netted braces: Alejandro Garnacho, Marcus Rashford and Christian Eriksen, with Antony netting another from the penalty spot. The Dane, after starting against Southampton in the Premier League at the weekend, once again got the nod, this time in a much more advanced role as Erik ten Hag gave Bruno Fernandes a much-needed break. And the 32-year-old did not disappoint, controlling the tempo of the game and spraying passes all over the pitch before eventually joining in on the goalmouth action. Eriksen's future: there was a lot of talk regarding the former Tottenham Hotspur man leaving in the summer, with former club Ajax named as a potential destination. But as the midfielder made clear after the game, he stayed back as he was not asked to leave, and after a disappointing last season in which he hardly got minutes, the Denmark international is keen to give it his all this term. Considering his difficulties in adjusting to the pace of the game against the big sides, this is likely to be his final season in Manchester, with his current deal ending next summer. But with Kobbie Mainoo's minutes to be carefully managed and Mason Mount injury-prone, United cannot afford to let go of the former Inter Milan star in January in a bid to recoup a fee. The Red Devils have simply not replaced Scott McTominay and Sofyan Amrabat adequately and need Eriksen to stay and provide cover. And Give Me Sport have suggested that once he does leave Old Trafford, he is likely to rock up at the club where he broke through into senior football, with Ajax unable to muster up the finances needed to agree a deal this past summer. Moving as a free agent will suit them perfectly. Ajax could be his final destination. Eriksen is poised to use the remainder of the season to decide his future instead of agitating for a winter switch away from Manchester United, according to GMS sources, which will also end his current employer's chances of being able to secure a fee for his services when the transfer window reopens. GMS sources have been told that there remains potential for Eriksen to end his career with Eredivisie heavyweights Ajax when he leaves Manchester United, and the idea of him returning to the Johan Cruyff Arena was touted during the summer transfer window, only for nothing concrete to come of it before last month's deadline. Eriksen is expected to hold discussions with Ajax over a possible move during the early months of 2025, GMS sources understand, and those conversations will dictate whether a switch to Amsterdam is on the cards as a realistic option to see out the final stages of his distinguished career. The Barnsley game was a reminder to Ten Hag that the Danish legend still has a lot to give, and with the 20-time English League champions fighting on 4 fronts, his services will be required if the club are to have a memorable campaign.